Cult Classics is a show where we explore some of the most revered boats and yacht builders in the world who have earned an almost cult-like status. In this episode, we dig deep into the legacy and cult following of the iconic Bertram 31 and one of the most revered boat builders in the world, Bertram Yachts.
Hello, I'm Marilyn DiMartini with YachtWorld. No matter what the port, foreign or domestic, you're likely to spy the unmistakable sheer line of a Bertram 31. The international success of the Bertram moniker, "The sun never sets on the Bertram Empire," was built on the back of the Bertram 31. The boat was an instant classic and is still highly sought after, with numerous expensive and extensive restorations being done. The 31 was born from racing, grew into an ideal fishing boat, and then expanded into a cruiser line. As we explore the boat's history from its birth under Richard Dick Bertram to its status as an internationally known brand today, we'll learn why the owners are not just collectors, but restorers of this iconic symbol of American-built performance, beauty, and durability. Bertram even thought about reviving the 31, but it would be too difficult to top it. So in 2016, they decided to instead create the Bertram 35. Same sheer line, but updated. The Bertram 31 has a strong profile, both on the water and in our minds.
With wins in competitive sailboat racing since the age of 14, speed on the water was in Dick Bertram's blood. By his early 40s, business success in yacht brokerage and a sailing and powerboat service in Miami allowed him to refocus his efforts on competing, securing multiple prestigious wins, and earning a name for himself as a successful racing competitor. With his racing enthusiasm not limited to sailing, he teamed up with fellow boatyard owner Sam Griffith to help develop the sport of offshore powerboat racing. Their first challenge was the daunting Miami to Nassau offshore powerboat race. This 185-mile run across the Gulf Stream and the tongue of the ocean is known as the world's most rugged ocean race, which they won consecutively in 1956 and 57. In the summer of 1958, Richard was sailing in the America's Cup trials in Newport, Rhode Island, when in the whitewater, something caught Dick Bertram's eye. A 23-foot runabout navigating through the heavy chop with ease. This boat, owned by New England boat designer C Raymond Hunt, featured a unique deep V hull design, something unheard of at the time. Taken aback, Bertram believed this smooth-riding, efficient design could be the answer to a more comfortable, functional pleasure boat. He immediately commissioned Hunt to build a similar boat for his family, and by early 1960, a wooden deep V 31-foot boat was complete and famously dubbed Moppie.
Moppie was a name that my mother's father had given her because she was a bit of a tomboy and played softball, and her hair was always a mess, so it looked like a mop when she was growing up. Sometimes they mispronounce it, but it's one of the lasting legacies of Bertram is the name Moppie.
When powerboat racing partner Sam Griffith took a test ride on the new Moppie, he was eager to enter it into the 185-mile Miami to Nassau race, so he and Bertram could regain their winning record. Griffith believed this new hull design could lead the way to victory, even in the heaviest of seas. On race day 1960, howling winds and monstrous seas were no match for the revolutionary new hull design of the Moppie, as it led the entire race and crossed the finish line in a record-breaking to-the-minute 8 hours. The Ray Hunt design proved to be everything Richard Bertram had hoped for, and the boating world immediately took notice.
You know, my father was a sailor. He kind of fell into the powerboat business. You know, when that boat winning the race, the Miami Nassau Race in 1960, he used to say he had people waving checks at him to buy the boat, and so they made a mold off of it, and that started the craze. It was the 31 Bertram
With the enormous demand for this 31-foot boat, the Bertram Yacht Company was formed. By this time, fiberglass was making a major impact on the boating industry. This technology breakthrough opened the door for Dick Bertram to use the original Moppie as a plug to build molds for a new fiberglass 31-foot Bertram. They entered the first hull, dubbed Glass Moppie, in the 1961 Miami Nassau Race and emerged victorious, completing the race in a spectacular 4 hours and 20 minutes, nearly half of their prior year's winning time. They went on to win almost every major offshore race in 1961, and Dick Bertram became an overnight celebrity with billboards for Camel cigarettes in Times Square, magazine ads for Rolex watches, and high-profile buyers like the Crown Prince of Sweden. When a slightly modified consumer version of the boat debuted at the 1961 New York Boat Show, orders poured in. The wraparound cabin windows provided exceptional visibility from below, and with the cabin placed slightly forward, the massive cockpit provided an excellent fishing platform. Longitudinal strakes running the length of the hull held the boat's course, and with its hard chine and low center of gravity, she could run in any water. The new look was unmistakable, and the Bertram 31 profile became internationally coveted.
The Bertram 31 really was revolutionary, given the input of industry experts like Ray Hunt, Jim Wynn, Walt Walters, and the new capabilities of fiberglass, the performance of the deep V hull, its unmistakable lines, and real sex appeal made the Bertram 31 the boat to own.
The 31 is what I call a benchmark model. It was everything before and everything after the 31. It's a boat that changed everything. The introduction of fiberglass and the availability of the V8 engine power are two critical elements that came together that made the possibility of running offshore something reliable and consistent.
The boats were strong. I mean, the fiberglass is to stick on these old boats because back then they weren't as concerned about weight. It was more about the strength. So the boats were built tough and that was part of the DNA too back in the early days was, building boats that could withstand a race, could obviously withstand anything that, normal usage would bring, that boats would last and you wouldn't have problems with the construction because they were overbuilt. So
those holes in the bottoms in these boats are stronger than any boat I think built now. They have a ton of glass in them. They're probably over an inch thick in the bottom and they fill all the strakes, so they're pretty strong.
It's funny because I would say that, the look of it obviously is unique, but the thing about the boat was the V hull. I mean, that's, and the racing, that was like the catapult. And the boat, I would say with the big cockpit, makes it a good fishing platform. Those were some of the qualities that made the boat successful. I mean, really, the V hull was the major thing.
The original Bertram had such an allure to it, and it had such an elegance and grace to it, and it was so easy to be on board. Roomy cockpit, great fishing boat, all the right heights to bring fish on board. And the original races that Sam Griffith ran, that boat was not beatable. It was an amazing concept, the deep V hull.
While the Bertram Yacht Company won the hearts of consumers worldwide, Bertram's racing reputation extended to Europe as he amassed wins in 1964 in Via Reggio, Italy in Lucky Moppie, and in 1965 at the United Kingdom's Cowes-Torquay race in Brave Moppie, which also won the Miami Key West race that year, earning Bertram the World Championship and Sam Griffith Memorial Cup.
Dick Bertram, the first American, and Brave Moppie, the first diesel-powered boat to win the race.
Dick Bertram was clearly a great competitor and salesman, but unfortunately was struggling to turn a profit. He sold the company in the late 1960s to a group eventually headed by a young, brash college graduate, Peter Rittmaster. a friend of Bertram's who saw a great opportunity to improve and streamline the company. The first major change by Rittmaster was to make Bertram a production builder with no customization, which saw immediate results in financial success. He also turned to the engineering expertise of Russ Specht and the power of Kiekhaefer to further improve the ride and performance of the hulls. Additionally, Rittmaster firmly believed in offshore racing and competitive sport fishing to further strengthen brand awareness, and he became heavily involved in both. With sales booming, Bertram soon expanded their model line and also produced 5 different consumer configurations of the iconic 31. The sports fisherman, with a cabin and flybridge and head tucked in the berth. The flybridge cruiser, with cabin, bridge, and added rear bulkhead. The Yanmar, with a small forward cabin and slightly elevated helm and windscreen. The hardtop, with no flybridge, and the Express Cruiser, with an enclosed cabin, raised helm amidship, and large windscreen. When regular production of the 31 ended in 1983, reports vary that there were somewhere around 1,800 hulls in circulation around the globe. Then, in 1986, 23 more Silver Anniversary 31s were built with oak interiors and custom helm striping. Today, after over 60 years, the allure of the Bertram 31 is stronger than ever, sought after by boaters worldwide, reaching unprecedented levels of cult status in the marine industry.
The 31 always had a tremendous mystique to it. Enormous following and very dedicated owners. Always very proud of what they had, because it was such a unique piece.
It's funny because people now, old boats that people fix up, the 31 Bertram is a bucket list item for a lot of people, and I think it's the classic lines really that I don't know, people just emote to the look and of course the ride.
For guys my age, it is the boat of our youth. It fits right in with boats that we either saw running around or boats that our parents owned. That boat has the right look to it to capture that time period, and so it becomes iconic.
The cult following of the Bertram 31 is evident as we look at the expensive and extensive renovations these owners have put into their boats. The 31 has good bones, which make it an ideal slate to create the boat that matches each individual's lifestyle. But this endeavor often becomes an obsession, and money becomes no object in the quest to build the perfect Bertram 31.
Some people want to have something you got to build, you can't buy. And that's what you get. When you do this, is exactly the way they want them.
The Bertram 31 Yanmar that I've got is an open express, and so it's not the flybridge model that most people are used to. But it's pretty hard to just leave it alone. And so I think it's hard for me, at least, to do these restorations and keep them completely original. I like to put a little twist of personalizing it. But in that way, it becomes mine. And so it's like doing a custom boat where you keep the classic lines, but you go through and make it your own.
I understand why they do it. But it's not just because there's not new boats to be bought out there. There are certainly a lot of new boats to be bought. We all know that, we're in the industry. But there's not another one of those.
At the end of the day, you pull into the fuel dock and people are like on and on about your boat. I mean, it's already happened today on this boat. People looking and giving you the, wow, nice boat.
It's a restoration is just another form of recreating something. And so, yeah, the passion that goes with that, I would never be satisfied to just go buy a boat.
As demand grew for the total restoration of these classic Bertram 31s, a few companies in the marine industry emerged to lead this niche business. One of those was Mastery Engine Center in Clearwater, Florida, whose business boomed when Yanmar introduced the lightweight 170 diesel, the perfect repower option for the Bertram 31's original and aging gasoline engines.
When gas prices went up and the boats began gaining popularity or keeping popularity, everybody wanted a diesel alternative. And in the past, diesels were always so big and clunky and weighed too much. And the way those Bertrams are set up, the CG's a little bit far forward, so they were very weight sensitive. But Yanmar came out with a lightweight diesel that seemed to be the perfect recipe for that boat. My brother and I owned a couple of them, and we started putting engines in them. And then the next thing you know, customers were saying, hey, I'd really like to do one of those, but can you find me a boat? So we ended up finding boats for people as well as doing the repowers. And that turned into, we had customers in Puerto Rico saying, oh, I found a boat, but it's really in bad shape. Can you paint it for us or find somebody to paint it? Do some glass work. And oh, by the way, we want to do a custom tower. Or oh, by the way, we don't want to sit on the right side of the boat, we want to sit on the left. So we changed different things for them, widened the fly bridge. It just went on and on and on, different flooring. All of a sudden, especially when the internet started getting more and more and the Bertram31.com came up, that we were just the go-to. They'll find you a boat, they'll repower the boat, they'll refurbish the boat. So that's kind of how we got into this. And I think I was telling you earlier, we've done probably 400 of these boats.
Dr. Gerry Santiago, a dentist in Naples, Florida, owns one of the Bertram 31s that the team at Mastery Engine Center helped breathe new life into. I've had the pleasure of knowing Gerry for many years through offshore racing, and whether he owned his Donzi, a cigarette, or now his Bertram 31, he's always been very passionate about his boats, boating, and performance. But the Bertram 31 goes back to when Gerry was a kid growing up in Puerto Rico, when the Bertram 31 was the boat to own. So even though it starts out as an aspiration, it builds on the admiration for the brand, the 31 in particular, and then the quest for ownership, no matter the cost.
Not only the brand, which in Puerto Rico, having a Bertram was the boat to have, for a good boat for rough water, but then I saw a magazine and I saw a cover of a magazine with Bertram 31 and I fell in love with the looks. And that's when I said, that's the boat I want. Once I moved to Florida, I got into the boat racing with a cigarette. Had people helping me like Mark McManus and Roger Mon with the engines. Did a little racing. Got to a point that I've been there, done that. And Mark McManus told me, time for you to go ahead and do that Bertram 31 that you were thinking about. And here we are.
Finding and making a Bertram 31 your own is no easy task. And when Gerry Santiago was ready to make the transition from racing into recreational boating, he got help from Mark McManus, widely known for building and renovating performance boats, especially Apaches. McManus helped him find the perfect Bertram. It was in bad need of repair, but that's what Gerry wanted, not something that had already been modified. He wanted a blank slate that he could turn into his dream Bertram, no matter the renovation work or the expense.
Yeah, you know, it was a boat totally destroyed with holes. And when I showed it to my family after I bought the boat, they were like, are you crazy? But that's what I wanted, because I wanted to redo the boat. Other boats for sale that were already made, not to my taste. And that was the perfect one to go ahead and make it a beauty. For the restoration, again, the boat was gutted out completely, an empty bathtub. And Regino's part started building the boat from the ground up. And then, you know, I started adding little things like an umbrella, a life well that is a cooler when it's not working as a life well, air conditioner, microwave for the kids. You know, at the time you needed to take care of the kids. and adding all the comfort to make a nice day boat. It took 2.5 years to build the boat. So that was great because every now and then I could take a look at the progress of the boat and make changes at certain things. Money-wise, I don't remember. And my wife is gonna see this, so I don't want to remind her. Well, you'll have to talk to her about the numbers. I don't remember. So here we have the engine boxes where I have twin Yanmar's 6LP with 315 horsepower. Again, engines that I got from Richard Bertram, they're perfect for this boat. And then we have these big engine boxes, and I never had cushions because one more thing that I have to put away. But then at the 2019 Lauderdale Boat Show, they came and they had the 35 Bertram, which is the same shape as the 31, designed by Michael Peters. And my wife and my daughter sat down in the cushions and they told me, we want this. So that's why I have the cushions now. Well, one of the details of designing I wanted them to be white like all the top of the boat, a little silver piping with the silver of the boat, and then the 31 logo, the actual number imitating the original logo, which is a metal piece that back in the days was united by a piece of metal. And so that's replicating the original logo of the 31.
While his boat was under the knife, Gerry took advantage of this opportunity to make some other improvements that he felt needed to be made in the boat, like the fly bridge and the interior cabin.
On the fly bridge, it used to be originally a bench with only 3 people that can fit in there. And then I decided to extend it by doing the bench sitting in the back. So now I can have up to 5 people sitting in the back, and then I'll be in the helm driving. So expanded the size of the small fly bridge. On the interior, what we decided to do, because it's technically small, I decided to go back with the look of glass all around, so more light and feels bigger. And with the toilet, instead of having it with an enclosed door in here, I decided to put it in the B-berth. That way we have all the panoramic view when you're in the inside of the boat.
Gerry's passion for the Bertram 31, from his childhood dream to his new family cruiser and fishing boat, is the real culmination of the American dream.
You know, I go to the boat show every year, Lauderdale and Miami, admire boats and new technology, but I found my boat. Same way I found my wife forever, I found the boat forever. Actually, my wife is a little jealous of the boat. Don't say anything.
For some, owning a Bertram 31 restoration becomes a very personal endeavor. And that was the case with Russell Swift, whose 31 named Details is at the top of her class. Russell wanted to build a boat that would make his father proud.
You know, I grew up in Connecticut, and my dad and I used to fish Long Island Sound every summer. And every once in a while, we get lucky enough to get invited out on his buddy's boat who had a Bertram. And when we went out fishing, we didn't go fishing, we went catching. So my dad said to me, he said, Russ, someday we're gonna have a Bertram. Well, unfortunately, that never happened. My father passed away when I was 13 years old. I graduated high school, moved to Florida, and never went back. So fast forward, the boat behind me was at my neighbor's house. Had 2 feet of water inside the boat. There was really nothing left to be saved on it. So I ended up getting the boat and taking it back to my shop where I completely gutted the boat. The only thing that was left was the hull, the deck, and the fly bridge. And this year, Bertram put their hull identification number on the inside of the transom. Well, this boat is hull number 1300. Remember, my father passed away when I was 13. It was built in 1973. That's the year he died. So at that point, there was no budget. I just wanted it to symbolize the great times that we had out on the boat, and wish that, you know, obviously my father was here to enjoy it, but I'm sure he's looking down and thinks it's pretty awesome.
Because this restoration has such significance to Russell Swift, there was no holding back. He used his expertise from the automotive industry to start replacing all the core materials in the boat using the latest technologies available today. Quite a difference from what was around in 1973.
I wanted to modernize it. I wanted to take advantage of all of the space that was kind of wasted in the original design. So all of the bulkheads, all of the cabinetry, all of the seats, they are all glassed in. We use Corcel on all of the interior walls. It makes the boat so solid, and it doesn't, you don't hear any creaking or banging or anything, in the heavy seas. Brian Riley from Riley Composites was instrumental in helping me design and fabricate and install all of the different products that we built in the boat.
When it came to repowering, Russell wanted nothing but the best, so he went to the experts at Mastery Engine Center. When it came to finish work, again, no expense was spared, only the best. Russell used top materials and craftsmanship, so the boat incorporates everything from German paints to book-matched teak.
I own a company in West Palm Beach called Fantastic Finishes, and we are a luxury car collision repair center. So the materials that we used on a boat is the same German paint that you would find on all your luxury cars and so forth. BASF, which is a great paint, and the hull is painted all the way to the keel and polished. All the woodwork was done by my buddy Todd from Palm Beach Boat Works, and it's just amazing the entire work that he did. A lot of the woodwork is finished in clear coat, so it's designed to last for a long time. So transom was done in book-matched mahogany. Then we had the custom logo painted on there with an airbrush, and then it's cleared over. It's got 15 coats of clear over the wood to protect it. It's got real granite countertops. We've got the teak floor on the inside. It's got baby ostrich for a headliner. We moved the head from starboard to port. I have a rain shower head in there, so it's really nice. It's got glass tile on the floors. It's got everything in the galley. It's got a Sub-Zero. It's got a convection microwave. It's just everything that you'd want.
When it came to rigging, Russell used the opportunity to bring his boat into the 21st century and improve on some of the original design characteristics. His focus was fishing in comfort.
All of the electronics are all high-end Furunos, TZ Touch. It's got a Seakeeper 3 that's built into the tackle center, and it also houses a 3.5 kW genset. With the addition of the Seakeeper, it is virtually eliminated the roll. So you can be in a beam sea that's 4 to 6 feet, and the boat is just rising up and down. It's not knocking you to where you're going to go out overboard.
Ultimately, what sets this restoration above most of the others is the attention to detail, hence the boat's name. Russell took every opportunity to use every custom feature that would give the boat more aesthetic appeal as well as function.
So the name of the boat is Details, and it's actually all about the details. It's all in the details. Everything down to the rudders and the struts are mirror polished 316 stainless steel. We even did the cockpit drains are custom made water jetted 316 stainless steel with the Bertram logo actually mounted inside that stainless steel drain. I wanted to make sure that this was absolutely the most impeccably built Bertram 31 ever. And I would hope that my dad would be over the top that this was, because this was built essentially, for him. So he didn't have a chance to have a Bertram, so this was my thought and my gift to him.
While most of the Bertram 31 restorers that we interviewed use their boat for fishing or for cruising, I recently had the opportunity to meet an Englishman, Hugo Peel, a member of the Royal Yacht Squadron, who took his Bertram 31 full circle. As a youth in 1963, watching from the back of his father's boat, he saw Tommy Sopwith take his 31 Bertram to victories in the Cowes-Torquay race. He tried racing himself as a 20-year-old and found that it was much rougher and much more expensive than he thought. So later, as a mature gentleman, he had the opportunity to acquire that very same Bertram 31. In 2018, he undertook a massive restoration and was again at the podium at the Cowes-Torquay race in 2022. Now that's taking a Bertram 31 full circle back to its racing roots. Congratulations, Hugo. Boaters globally bought and restored hundreds of Bertram 31s, sharing the pride of owning a classic that was last built in 1986. But in 2015, the Gavio Group purchased Bertram with the intent to revive its legacy. And what more fitting way than to revisit the model that built the global phenomena, the Bertram 31. But with that legacy behind them, it was going to be a daunting task.
In 2015, when Mr. Gavio bought the company, Bertram at that point had gone 1 year without building a boat. He wanted to make a statement, about bringing the brand back. And everybody had always asked, why don't we do the 31? You got to redo the 31. The last time they had done one is in the mid-'80s for an anniversary model. It just seemed the natural fit to remake the old classic.
When we found out that Bertram had changed ownership and was bought by Mr. Gavio in Italy, we realized that we had a chance to really fulfill a dream I had had, and that was designed for Bertram. And we were fortunate to get a phone call from him. And one of the things that became very clear was the first boat was going to be a remake of the 31. And it was very much a passion decision. It wasn't based on marketing. It was based on trying to redefine the brand and going back to its heritage and starting with a clean slate.
My favorite line, I think I've told you already, is I think that's sacred ground. If you touched the 31 and you did it wrong, we would have had a lot of people to deal with. So instead we did a little bit different version of it and let Michael Peters put his own spin on it and tried to make some improvements along the way.
Well, with the Bertram 31, it was a definite study of the understanding that the forward house gave it a unique look, a little spring to the sheer, and trying to capture some of those key elements. At the same time, people won't accept the same spatial qualities that the 31 had. In many ways, the 31, if it was introduced today without a brand to go with it, would be completely unacceptable. Not enough headroom, not enough space, a lot of things about it that you don't want to duplicate. We actually found that we had to make it a little bit bigger just to be able to get it to accommodate what people would be looking for today.
We wanted to improve on the ride a little bit, make it a modern ride with 500 horsepower engines in it. So we extended the waterline a little bit. Never had a number in mind. It was always just, what do we do to make it better? I think at some point we were 32, 33, 34, and 35 feet until we stopped. But a little bit more waterline to make it a little bit drier. Everybody that owns a 31 knows what that means. And just the volume inside the boat, give it real amenities inside the boat, a real nice bed, a real stand-up head, air condition, sub-zero refrigeration, a big dinette, just a lot more space than the 31.
Well, the very first thing that you see on a Bertram 31 at 100 yards or 200 yards is a proportion. So capturing that proportion became a really big part of the 35. If you reproportioned it, you'd completely ruin the look of the boat. So that's where we started. After that, it was everything else is new. We're going to do infusion in the hull. We're going to do a molded structural system, obviously the modern diesels, propeller pockets. You're going to go through and do everything you can to make it a modern boat. But from a distance, it really needed to look like a Bertram 31.
It had to reflect the lineage of Bertram. So, you know, obviously when people see it, Michael Peters did a great job at that. The design really reflects the elements of that made the 31 so unique. I mean, obviously it's a much bigger boat than the 31, but the styling is, you know, people when I see it, they get it.
We were able to keep, I think, a lot of the classic design features of it, proportion and sheer. I can see a Bertram 35 running and sometimes think it's a 31 and surprise myself that I'm not even identifying it properly.
If you have a 31 sitting at a quarter mile and you have a 35 sitting at just a little bit farther, they look identical. You know, it's clearly a bigger boat, it's a taller boat, but from a profile, from a distance, you know, people can't tell. They just know it's a Bertram.
After hearing Michael Peters' stories about his 31 Bertrams and his role in developing the 35, we had to get on board one ourselves to see how the 35 paid homage to the classic 31. We found a 2017 model in Palm Beach, Florida, and took it on a fabulous sea trial. It was the perfect culmination of this cult classic journey. So the 35, in adding 4 feet in the length and a little more than a 1.5 feet to the beam, they really opened the possibilities of the entire boat, most notably here in the cockpit. You'll see that by adding the features that a lot of people added to the 31 as they renovated it, like the sun pads and the backrests, and a bigger live well, fish boxes, more storage for rods and fishing accessories. So Bertram really wanted to preserve the look and the profile of the boat, including its disproportionate size cockpit, but still make it a modern boat for today's boater. And that's what you see here. The sun pads are on top of what are now Cat diesels, 7.1 engines that bring this to about an easy 38 or so top speed, cruising 35 very comfortably. This boat, as you can see, is outfitted for fishing with the outriggers, with lots of rod holders. They really created it as a fishing boat, but it's become a more social boat. You could throw a couple of chairs back here and make this a very nice boat for an easy day cruise. The boat, you'll see from side views, looks very much like the 31. And in fact, if you saw a 31 and a 35 together, you might not even notice the difference. But this boat also has a lot of technology, like a generator, a seakeeper, and that weight of that technology added to the boat helped also make this a drier boat by shifting a lot of the weight forward, which was part of the issue with the 31. We can see more changes as we go in the salon, so let's go there next. Well, here in the salon is where we can really feel the difference of the 12'6" beam. The 31 had a cozy little cabin and salon, but this one opens up for a full-size galley with a cooktop, your electrical panel access here, lots of storage, your microwave, refrigerator, drawers, sink, so you have everything you need in the galley, as well as dining area and seating for 6 or 7 people easily. The most notable thing about the rearrangement of the interior is this full-size head. That was a problem with the 31 as to where people put it and where they rearranged it when they did renovations. But the 35 really has solved that problem completely, because this is a very roomy head and gives you all the comfort that you need, as well as a sliding glass door that gives you that entrance and still the open feeling as you look out to the cockpit. There's lots of storage here in the drawers, And even above, there's storage that can be used for rods, for kites, or just general storage. LED lighting, so you've got all the accoutrements here for a comfortable salon, including full air conditioning that is hidden very nicely behind all this teak cabinetry. The berth is much bigger and much more comfortable. You could actually do this for an easy overnight with another TV, hanging storage, and again, access to the head. You'll note that this boat has an option of teak and holly floors. The standard is an acrylic, but this gives this boat, which is hull number 5, a really rich feel. You'll also note that the windows have been modernized. They're very strong supports, wrap around, so good visibility and natural light for here in the cabin. This dining table can also retract with an extra cushion, become an additional berth. So this could be a really comfortable weekend boat if you wanted to make that, or a very easy day boat with all the electronics and all the comforts that you need. We'll see that there are some other changes made up in the flybridge, and we'll go there next. Much easier access up here to the flybridge on this model. And you'll see that this flybridge is very open. In the Bertram 31, it was a tight space. It was really meant just for the captain. But now, people want to be social when they boat. So now we've got 3 pomponette chairs here, which are standard on this boat. A very clean dash because you've got storage under this hatch. You've got your switches and bow thruster under that hatch. A beautiful carbon fiber dash with Simrad screens and your Caterpillar screen as well. This helm pod is real wood. You can also get faux. But this look still feels like the old Bertram, but with a lot more space. This boat does not have a hardtop. It is possible to have a hardtop and even another bench in the back for more passengers, but this one has the railing and rod holders. So there's still some amounts of customization that you can do in a new build, and as we've seen what people have done in their renovations. What we see here in the 35 Bertram is a loyalty and a dedication to the heritage, but yet with the upgrades necessary for today's boater. Maintaining its iconic name, but still making a modern day boat.
When I look at the 35, and I was really grateful to be involved with it, I think my father would have really appreciated it. Michael Peters is a Bertram nut, so he really got it. It had to be something a little more, but still carry the DNA, if you will, of the brands that had those qualities, that made it special.
The company never really ever came back to where it was until recently with the 35, until Mike's design. The company changed into, I don't know, God, it morphed so many times into something other than what it should have been. I built classic designs, and the new Bertram, of course, is one of those boats. It's a classic design, updated.
I think Bertram now is it's in its best position it's ever been because of the receptiveness of the new owners to what the core clientele really wants. I think they're in their best position ever. The new product really reflects that.
We want the new 35 to be the boat, and I just talked a moment ago about the money they'll spend on redoing a 31. I fully expect this 35 in 30 or 40 years to be the boat that somebody's redoing. Yanking engines out and spending the money on because it's worth it. It's a Bertram.
The Bertram 31 checks all the boxes for a cult classic. As we can see here in Bertram's office in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, surrounded by its memorabilia, the Bertram 31 was built to be top quality, has a colorful history and following, and makes us smile. As Matthew McConaughey writes in his book Green Lights, cool stands the test of time because cool never tries. Cool just is. And the Bertram 31 was and is cool. Thanks for joining us on Yacht World for Cult Classics.
To watch more, subscribe to our channel at youtube.com/YachtWorld and follow us on social media. Stay tuned for the next episodes of Cult Classics coming soon on YachtWorld.com.